Hello everyone and welcome to some more F1 My Team Career Mode. Today we're here for the start of the final flyaways of Season 3. The US part of the calendar has now finished. The previous round, Brazil, will be linked in the top right. It was the last sprint race of the season, so go watch it. But yeah, here we are for the last part of the season, and this is going to be the kind of Far East regions as we go to Singapore, Australia, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Jeddah, and just generally that part of the calendar. So in the background, you're watching me take care of business after the last round in Brazil. Now, we had 2 upgrades scheduled, one for the chassis and one for the aerodynamics, and both of them failed. So we had to go ahead and essentially repurchase them, and that is going to cost us a bunch of points, to the point where we can't actually repurchase the aero one just yet, so we're going to have to wait. In the meantime, we also had to select a new rival. Our previous one was George Russell, and it was actually quite a fun target to beat, so I'm going to go ahead and select him again. The reason for that is because when you select a rival, their performance increases, and Verstappen is strong enough as it is. I want to try and keep Russell in the title fight. So as you can see, we had a double engine upgrade arrive for fuel consumption, and also the second kind of repurchase of the chassis upgrade also arriving, so that just leaves the aero one on the side. We've got rain forecast this weekend, new regs inbound for next season, and as for the calendar, you can see confirmation of kind of a little stateside break over, as we now have Singapore, Japan, Australia, Jeddah, Bahrain and Abu Dhabi to close out season number 3. Hulkenberg is your current championship leader. He is red hot this season, and things are looking pretty hot moving forward. It's still, I'd say, a 7-car fight for the championship, all the way to kind of Carlos Sainz, but definitely a bit more competitive between myself, Hulkenberg, Leclerc and Verstappen. So with that said, we move to qualifying, and it's absolutely chucking it down. It's heavy rain in the start of this session, and we're going to see what happens, because again, at this point now, every session matters. Qualifying is key, and every single race is key, because the championship is going to go down to the wire. Here we are then, full wet tyres on our car as we make our way towards the end of our first lap of the circuit. Admittedly, it wasn't a great lap. I was messing around with ERS modes to try and get more traction, and it just ended up costing me more time. At the same time, there was track evolution. The track was drying at this time, and it was transitioning from heavy rain to light rain, and I could notice it in the cornering grip. I was getting a lot more confident throughout the lap, and you can see here we're 1.6 seconds up already on our previous lap, make that 1.7, and we just kept on finding time throughout the entire lap. We're going to improve and move to P7 at the end of our second attempt. After this, we went back to the pit lane, put the intermediates on, and currently you join me on the out lap with 3 minutes to go. Now, I was trying to find some space on track at this point. We've got Checo behind, and into the hairpin, he rams into the back of us and wrecks his car, and he's out of the session. So, not sure what happened. We'll quickly run up a replay just to understand what happened there. But Checo just completely drives into the back of us there on the outlap, and he was also on the outlap himself. So I don't understand what the hell happened there. But yeah, Checo out already in Q1 because of that. That's going to cost him dearly with track evolution. Now, at the end of our first push lap, you can see that I almost ran into the barrier under the bridge. I managed to just save it, but this lap was absolutely horrible. I started the lap right behind Ocon, who's ahead of us on the road, and he's already pulled away by like 30 car lengths. It's absolutely ridiculous. I had no pace on this opening lap, and we do improve, and we're P7 for now, but there's lots of other cars improving behind us on track, so it's just going to keep evolving. The one key thing here, which might give us a chance, the AI are now on in-laps. Once they finish their lap, that's it, they're done. Whereas we're going to be the only car, as far as I know, going for a second push lap. You can see already we're getting close to getting knocked out, so we need this lap, and we're already 6/10 up. The track is drastically improving, literally corner after corner. It's getting faster and faster and faster. You can see we're already 8/10 up, and we're P19 right now, so we need this lap because we're out right now, but the track is drastically improving. Everyone's setting new fastest laps. Russell into the low 49s as the new benchmark. But you can see right now we're 1.3 up, so we are absolutely flying here. And the rain is now almost stopped at this point. Literally, the track is improving that fast. And the AI not going for a second lap may have cost them. As you can see, 1.7 seconds up now at the end of Sector 2. And this would put us approximately on a 50-0, possibly a higher 49. So we're already kind of getting to that region where we're looking good to be safe. You can see now, making our way through the final part of the lap here, these kind of chicanes, the lefts, the rights, the lefts, the rights, making sure we, at this point, just don't make any mistakes. I know this lap's more than good enough because you can see Stroll on a 51.1 is P18, so yeah, I reckon with a mid-50, high 50, that would be fine. But I just want to keep it together. You can see we're now 2.7 seconds up, and this is going to be on target for a good lap. And across the line, you can see me celebrate. On the dash, it flashed up P8, and we're out of Q1. And in many ways, I'm very thankful for the AI's mistake, because I didn't have pace in the full wet or the inters to really get through. But there was an opening there, an opportunity on that second lap to improve. The AI didn't take it, but we did, and we move into Q2 thanks to that moment. And it looks like the track is also going to improve now in terms of conditions moving forward. So I'd consider that a very crucial point, one that I may even look back on at the end of the season, because starting P21 would have been an absolute disaster at Singapore. With that said, into Q2, soft tyres on, the rain has completely dissipated, and we're now on dry tyres. So our first lap was horrible, I'm not going to lie. Getting used to the dry conditions, it took a minute, and we go last, P11 at the time, at the end of our first attempt at 37.0. We now move on to attempt number 2, and this is our last set of soft tyres, so this is it. We're going to give it everything and hope to get through. So, setting up the lap, making our way through the final corner, making our way through the final corner to make sure we set up the exit perfectly. DRS open as we head down to turn 1. Bring the car over to the right, about 70 meters down to 5th. Lots of inside curb through 1 and 2, south to curb at 3. Use all the runoff on the exit though as we head into 4. Bring the car all over to the left and then just clip the inside curb for a bit of rotation. We have a bit of an oversteer moment there, but we're up by 3/10 in sector 1 and it's a good start to the lap. DRS open, spot the braking into Raffles Boulevard. Brake just before the curb on the right, down to 5th. Take a lot more inside curb than I do through there. Then hard on the brakes into this right hairpin. Steady on traction. Important to open up this double apex left as we make our way into a little bit of a short back straight. And now into the very tricky mechanical grip section, technical section here, as we head through this long swooping left into an off-cambered right, then across the Anderson Bridge. Brake at the kink, down to 3rd, try to stay tight. We're actually getting a bit too hot and now brake ourselves into the hairpin and lose a bit of time. And we have generally lost about half a tenth to nearly a full tenth in this second sector, so it hasn't been a great sector 2. Trying to overdrive has cost me time. Sector 3 now though, we found time through the first right-handed, now into the chicanes. Very important here to be patient with mechanical grip as we just avoid hitting the wall. Now underneath the bridge, staying nice and tight through here, opening up the right and trying to bounce over the curbs and get the car balance to flow nicely. You can see we're now 4/10 up as we make our way into the final couple of corners. Full commitment, carrying all the speed, DRS open as we improve by over 4/10. The question is it enough? No, it isn't. And it's P13 and we're out of qualifying. So, not the best scenario. A track where you can't overtake. It does seem like, even based off practice alone, the pace wasn't there for me. And it kind of confirmed it in qualifying, both in the dry and the wet. We're just not fast. So, this could be a bit of a damage limitation race weekend. Nico Hulkenberg, 8/10 quicker than us, extremely fast. Leclerc on the pace as well in the Ferrari. But yeah, things aren't looking great. So we've got work to do in the race and we're going to try our best to turn it around. Hopefully we can make it work. Strategy will also be very key, whether it's a 1 or a 2 stop, and safety cars, which could happen around here quite likely. So yeah guys, that's it for qualifying. Let's now move into the race.
Here we go then, it's Formula One in Marina Bay once again, and welcome to all of you at home who join us today for this fascinating race around the baking hot but beautiful streets of Singapore. The Marina Bay street circuit then has 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, taking us a total of 3.1 miles around the landmarks of downtown Singapore. An average lap speed around here just 107 miles per hour. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hulkenberg, Albon, Esteban Ocon, and Leclerc. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mick Schumacher, Martinez, Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty, and Yuki Tsunoda. Norris, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Stroll, Bottas, Gasly, Sergio Perez, and Guan Yu Zhou. Magnussen, Vettel, Latifi, and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So, a bunch of penalties have been applied, and we're starting from P8 in this race, which means we've actually got a decent shot at having a decent result. I feel like it's going to be a tough race, a really tough race. I am kind of banking on the race pace, generally just being stronger. I'm hoping for a top 5. I think that would be fair. I am going to make some adjustments on setup for the race. So I'm going to go one-click car on the front wing, and I'm also going to increase my tyre pressures by a click. I feel like that's going to help out with tyre wear, and especially on the hard tyre, maintaining tyre temp. But yeah, other than that, I don't know what to expect. I think it could be a struggle. Hulkenberg is a few places up the road, so our target is to really limit damage and make sure we don't lose or bleed too many points really in this race. Now, just before we jump into the race, just to recap really quickly. Checo Perez, of course, starting right towards the back after that qualifying incident. So he's one of the championship protagonists who's out of the running, basically. Leclerc is only P6, hasn't really qualified that well. So next up, we look at Hulkenberg, who I believe is P5. So, you know, within reason, things aren't looking too bad right now. I've gone for the contra strategy, so I'm going for the hard tyre compared to a majority of cars going for mediums. Carlos Sainz also joining me on this strategy. The objective is to maybe go for a hard soft, possibly. That, you know, we could leave that option open. But the idea here is to go long on this tyre first and foremost. So, let's get lined up and let's get ready to send it. Perfect lineup.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid is formed. Be ready with the clutch.
And yeah, as always, leave a like, prediction down below, and hopefully you enjoy the video, subscribe, and let's get this done. Right. Underway.
Okay, we're monitoring some wear on the internal combustion engine. Be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power.
Floor damage, and I've got absolutely no idea how the hell they have managed to do that. Underway though. Sainz getting stuck in here as we head on to the back straight. We're going to hold on though and get P8 back. Very important that we keep Carlos Sainz at bay, of course. If we outscore him today, we might just edge him out of the title fight, possibly. But yeah, Norris getting the good start. We're going to have to manage his floor now for the whole race. Luckily, it's only minor damage. It's not major, which has been an issue of ours. Alex Albon is running P3 for Williams, by the way. He's had a fantastic weekend, and he's running P3, so I don't know what the hell he did in Q3, but it was a madness, and he's qualified way up the order. As for us, though, let's see if we can try and get some moves done. You can see the oversteer there is doing me no favours, but hopefully that's more just the hard tires rather than the floor damage. Sainz dropping back here, overtaken by Schumacher, so that's good news. Yellow behind, not sure if that's actually a crash or just slow pace AI. But for us, this is a decent start, just the floor damage, which is going to be an issue. Also, of course, taking a bit of a chance with the engine. I want to squeeze out one more race with this turbocharger before we change units for the next race in Japan. So yeah, hopefully everything goes off without a hitch and we can just kind of build up our confidence this race. The fact that Albon's P3 is good, it means we will stay compact in a little train. The bad news, Hulkenberg has got up to P2, which isn't great, so he's going to start driving off, which is bad news for us. Working hard right now to try and stick with Lando and stay within a second. It's not easy though. I've used a pretty good chunk of battery as well. The front two are absolutely flying. And, you know, to his credit, Albon's actually putting away. Verstappen is the one dropping back.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
I don't think we're going to have DRS here, which is annoying. I just don't have the pace right now on these tyres. Oh, that was a moment. Big moment there. Schumacher trying to close in. I've managed to just keep out of DRS range, but we're losing contact now with the cars ahead. I can't tell if Sainz has damage as well, or genuinely if the hard tyre just isn't that fast. And Sainz has got a perfectly good car. I mean, I've got floor damage. I feel like it's making my car a little bit unstable, but it's drivable. No big issues. I have just clipped the wall there, but for the most part, the car feels fine.
Okay, the underbody's taken some damage. You might start to notice it soon. Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
So I'm not really sure where I stand. I wonder if, you know, Carlos is managing some slight wing damage. I think the hard tyre just isn't that great. My pace is not really going anywhere. I'm very consistent. I'm in the high 41s every lap. Nothing is happening. I feel good. Car damage is fine. It's manageable. So I'm in a pretty good state right now. Just, you know, churning laps. The reality is I've got no more pace in this. This is all I've got. So I'm waiting to see when the medium tyre is going to start to drop a little bit. And maybe if there's some battles ahead, we can start to close in. But other than that, not much more really happening. Okay, so first Sainz, the medium is dropping. I've managed to drop Sainz out of my DRS range, or Schumacher, sorry. As Sainz gets overtaken by Ricciardo, that's what I meant to say. There's still no progress on the cars ahead. Pace dropping into the mid-42s. We're burning up too much fuel, so I'm having to use higher gears. Not really a big time loss. The big time loss is that I'm trying to save battery. So I've not used any in the last 3 laps since I've dropped Schumacher. My car's in the pit lane, so we're going to see some movement. Russell did start on soft speed, which is interesting. And he's gone for another set of soft, so George is 2 stopping. So Hulkenberg takes the race lead. Yellow flag in sector 3. Schumacher back in DRS range. Let's just quickly see what that yellow flag is before we go on our way. It's Perez out of the race. That's big for the championship. Checo putting an end to a miserable weekend with a DNF in Singapore. But let's see how the rest of the race affects now, as we're going to see some pit stop action. So I've kind of switched up my pace a little bit. You can see on the fuel load I've started to push because I'm now down to 0.3, and that's me pushing flat out. I'm kind of reacting to Russell here, who is all over the back of us, because I'm kind of using it to drop Schumacher definitively. Get a warning there for track limiters. Now Russell will go by it, or not. He gets a terrible exit out the final corner. I'm letting him go. Hopefully we don't lose too much time and we get DRS on him. But yeah, Albon pits. What a race he's having. That's absolutely insane that he's running that high on legitimate pace. Well, we're going to go long and see if we can stick with George. Probably not, but we'll give it a shot. Right, Russell gone already, so back to fuel saving mode now for us, running the high gears and hopefully also recharging some battery. I think Hulkenberg's going to rejoin pretty close to us actually. Maybe just ahead of us on cold tyres. Everybody's in now though.
We're approaching the pit window and you're going to be on medium.
Okay, so right ahead of Hulkenberg. Verstappen's still out there, who started on the hard tyre interestingly. Let's extend the stint a little bit and see if we can make it work. You can see my rear tyre wear is not too shabby, so we can afford to go a bit longer here. So Verstappen finally pits and we're going to box now on this next lap. If there's going to be a virtual safety car or safety car.
Okay, we want you to pit this lap, so push now, push.
Ideally, I'd like it to be now if possible. Hulkenberg right behind us as we get our second track limit warning. Struggling for tyre grip. We'll let Hulk go on the back straight. Don't really want to hold him up too much, but then again, I really should start to think about it for the championship. But I've got nothing to really fight with right now. Not versus our teammate, so
We think we might see some rain. ETA about 15 minutes.
yeah, there's no chance that's happening. Let's just box this lap. Well, it looks like it's not going to happen. We got lucky in the last race, but We're not going to get the safety car or the virtual safety car this time. Hulkenberg looking dominant in Singapore as Russell pits for a second time. Verstappen has rejoined net P2, so we're going to see Russell and Max go at it for second place. We're going to box now though, and we're going to get those medium tyres on. Got a front wing adjustment as well, inbound, to have a bit more straight line speed and a bit more ERS rechargeability, so I don't think it's going to affect cornering that much. I just wonder what the pace would have been without floor damage. You know, gets me thinking. 2.3, good stop. And we'll rejoin behind Ricciardo actually. We've lost a bit of time here.
Look after these tyres now, and you want to finish the race on this compound.
Admittedly, Ricciardo yet to stop. We've got Stroll and Schumacher here, near us. We're going to keep Schumacher behind, just. That was important. Let's try and get the tyres warmed up and look to get past Lance Stroll ASAP. It doesn't look like Stroll is on old tyres, at least I don't think he is. But I might be wrong. If he isn't, and this is legit. Okay, no, there we go, he does pit. Ricciardo stays out though, interestingly. Right, let's see what happens then. Well, we've got to try and get Ricciardo and get that P8 back. Yeah, Ricciardo's staying out, so I think this P8 is legit. Just at a personal best, but it's not a fastest lap. Let's get on the chase. Let's see if we can try and get that 8th place away from him. I'm struggling to get close. I'm out of battery now. Ricciardo is legit P8. His tyres are only 8 laps old. We're catching Ocon, who has lost contact with the cars ahead and is out of the DRS train, so he's now dropping back like a stone. If I can just sit in Ricciardo's DRS and recharge, that would be perfect. Fuel is becoming an issue now. Okay, finally we've got DRS. I'm just going to sit here for a few laps and just let the battery recharge and hopefully...
Turbochargers on its last legs. Let's try to keep mileage on it to a minimum.
Also manage fuel and the engine a little bit. DRS offline. Not good. Terrible timing. Not ideal. Starting to lose time to Ricciardo. I can't keep up. I've used my battery. I needed DRS and we lost it at the crucial time. Cars ahead are losing time though, they're battling right now, but we're running out of laps for things to happen. And we know that they always turn up their engine in the last lap.
Okay, we don't think we're far away from rain now. I'll keep you updated as conditions change.
That could arrive, you know. It's been a while since we got the first update. That could happen. I don't think it'll be enough to spoil things or change things, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did end with some rain. It's raining already. Okay, this could be spicy. I mean, our pace in the rain is terrible, but the strategy options might allow us to find something here.
We'll be seeing at least 20 minutes of light rain. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
I'm running on for 2 points. Could be worth a gamble. Cars ahead are really starting to lose time now. The rain isn't coming down enough, so we're going to see this one out on dry tyres. The question is, will there be any late drama? I'm pushing like crazy at the minute. Well then, Hulkenberg holds off pressure from Verstappen in the final 5 laps or so to win, and that is huge for the championship.
Okay, we've been given a time penalty. It will go against our finishing time at the end of the race. Get your head down and let's get it done.
I get a penalty right at the end there, just cutting that corner a bit too much, but yeah. Wouldn't say disaster, but we just didn't have the pace this weekend. Nothing really worked in the wet or the dry, so we finish in 9th place, and that is big for the championship.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
And with that, we wrap up another incredible Grand Prix weekend. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result? The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
So there we go then, race done in Singapore. Max Verstappen picks up the fastest lap. So let's break it down. Hulkenberg with a huge win for the championship. Verstappen second and Leclerc third. So all the big boys in the top four. Albon, the surprise package of the entire weekend, genuine pace P5 out of nowhere. Lando Norris P6 ahead of Ocon and Ricciardo. Then we finish in P9 ahead of Mick Schumacher. And missing out on the points, Alonso Sainz, and then Hamilton, Gasly, Zhou, Bottas, Latifi, Magnussen, Stroll, Tsunoda, Vettel, and then Perez, only DNF here today. So, standings, we are second still, only by 2 points over Max. Hulkenberg has a 26-point lead. Essentially, he's got a race win and fastest lap in his back pocket, which is insane. Perez down to 5th after this absolute shocker of a weekend, and Russell keeps himself in touch with that, pretty decent result. So, yeah, I think had Russell not two-stopped, he could have won, and it would have been a different story, but he two-stopped it, it didn't really work, he was the only one to do it, and it backfired. I could officially now rule Sainz out of contention, so it's become a 6-way fight. 50 points covering the top 6, and it's all to play for. In the Constructors, we extend our lead 1-2 in the Championship in the Drivers, which means we extend our lead in the Constructors, and Ferrari's struggling to hold on. Mercedes now officially out of reach. Williams scored big points today thanks to Albon, moving up to P9, but there you go guys, there's a lot. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I'm sorry it wasn't an absolute classic, but they're not always going to be that way. We've had some bangers this season, but this one was a tough one and we just didn't have the pace, so yeah, apologies for that. As always, check out the 2 videos on screen if you haven't seen them already, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care, and let's go back from me.